I have watched the new Mass Effect trailer over 100 times and broken down every little detail that the Mass Effect team has sneakily provided to us. I'm going to go over the audio transmissions, visuals, what planet this is, and much more. I even dive into a theory that makes it extremely likely for Shepard to return in the next game. Grab your favorite emergency induction port drink, and let's dive into it. There are two parts that I've decided to break the trailer into: what we already know about the Mass Effect universe, and what may be coming in the next game. Let's first analyze each phase of the trailer, and afterwards I'll play it back in full. I'll also add that a lot of my interpretations in the what may be coming in the next game section are based on a theory I covered in my last video. So if you want to go check that out, link down below so you won't be utterly confused later on in this video. Let's start with the galaxy phase of the trailer, or as I like to call it, Milky Way magic school bus time. The trailer begins by showing the Milky Way in the forefront and the Andromeda galaxy in the background. Having both galaxies in the opening leads me to believe that the next game is going to be a sequel to both the Mass Effect trilogy and Mass Effect Andromeda. The next game's director Mike Gamble has confirmed that Andromeda is the galaxy in the background, and also implies that Andromeda is going to be involved somehow in the next title. The audio playing while the galaxies are shown is a line from the War of the Worlds released in 1938. We now know that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched. This is followed by audio from the Apollo 11 mission that brought humanity to the moon, coupled with an interesting shot of a space phenomenon that I have tried to identify but can't quite figure out. My own speculation is it could be a visual metaphor for the colliding of the Milky Way and Andromeda plotlines, but it could also be a reference to the Paragon and Renegade reputation system coming back. The left side of the half circle is bluer, and the right side's half circle appears to be redder, matching the colors for the Paragon and Renegade reputation system. Everything after this point is strictly related to the Mass Effect universe. As we approach a bright yellow sun, we hear the audio of someone saying, "Arcturus Station, unknown vessel approaching, we need first contact protocols." This likely refers to when humanity was attempting to activate Relay 314, but encountered the Turians for the first time. The Alliance had not met so-called aliens up until that point, so the exploration team contacted Arcturus Station for first contact protocols with a new alien species. This all eventually resulted in the First Contact War in 2157. It then fades to open space, which to me indicates a time jump of a few months. This is followed by a zoom in on a planet with 2 moons and the line, "Humanity now stands as partners of the galaxy." I believe this represents a time after the First Contact War, when humans were fully integrated as members of the galactic community, also in 2157. The camera then kind of rotates slightly with the line, "Arc 6 is away, Godspeed," which is a clear connection to Mass Effect Andromeda, specifically the Andromeda Initiative. This has also been confirmed by director Mike Gamble. The Arcs are the massive space vessels that carried a variety of Milky Way species to the Andromeda galaxy. The Andromeda Initiative's Arcs were launched in 2185. Arc 6 could refer to the Quarian's Arc, the Keela Sia, which would bring the total number of Arcs sent to the Andromeda galaxy up to 6. The Quarian's Arc went missing in the events of Mass Effect Andromeda, and still has not been found. The missing Arc 6 could be a plot point that the next Mass Effect title will attempt to resolve. Then there's the debris phase of the trailer, or as I like to call it, that part in the 2020 Game Awards where we realized it was a Mass Effect reveal of some sort. It starts with a bunch of debris swirling around and includes audio of a few distinct lines that I can pick out. "Watch that squad fighter, they're going to take down the Dreadnought. Engines are going critical, and abandoned ship." Pretty straightforward stuff, as I think this represents the Reaper War in 2186. An unmistakable Reaper War follows, echoing out and eventually fading, representing the Reapers being controlled, synthesized, or destroyed. This was the moment in the Game Awards where we knew, holy Sirkesh, Mass Effect? Someone then says, "Is anyone receiving this? We've lost contact." Following whatever choice is made at the end of Mass Effect 3, the mass relays are severely damaged, as shown in the trailer. The Crucible energy wave most likely also takes out any quantum entanglement communications for a while, so the woman saying "we've lost contact" could also mean the loss of communication with other parts of the galaxy. The next phase of the trailer involves a bunch of distorted audio, which involves a ton of speculation, so I'm going to come back to this later on in the video. Alright, let's dive into the second part of the trailer, aka what might be coming in the next game. Up until this point, it's been a clear timeline of events, from when humanity first envisioned aliens existing until the Reaper War. I'm going to assume anything from this point onward, including the distorted audio that we'll get to later, refers to events in the next Mass Effect game. This phase of the trailer I like to call, I'm still freaking out over the Reaper War. As mentioned in my last video, I believe this planet to be Alchera, the planet where Shepard originally died, the first time at the start of Mass Effect 2. I go over why Alchera in depth in my last video, so again, link to that below if you'd like to dive into that. Long story short, Alchera is the only planet with 3 moons and is icy, as seen in the Codex from Mass Effect 2, and the only planet I could find in the first 3 games that matches the visuals shown in the trailer. Next, we see a solitary figure fighting a blizzard while casually walking on a non-moving Reaper. The main things to note here are the cold atmosphere, matching Alchera's Codex description, and the 2 non-moving Reapers. And now for my favorite section of the trailer, aka everything is happening. You see the previous figure go up towards a weirdly shaped object encased within the snowy surface of the planet. They then pick up a piece of this object and wipe the snow off it, clearly revealing a piece of an N7 helmet as compared to an intact version. The unknown object on the ground is probably a set of N7 armor encased in ice. After brushing off the piece of the N7 helmet, the figure stands back up, and we get a brief 2.5-second glance at the 3 companions in the background. The background also shows the mudskipper that they all descended Alchera with. The figure on the left appears to be a Solarian, and the figure on the right a Krogan. The figure in the middle I'm less sure of, but I'm leaning towards human. I'll be covering in depth who I specifically think each of these characters are in a separate video. After the figure's hood settles, we finally get a reveal of who this is. And yes, it is none other than Dr. Liara Tassoni, the Shadow Broker herself. Both the freckles and face structure matches Liara to a T. There is a ton of debate whether the lines near her mouth and eyes indicate that she is centuries older, but based on this footage of Liara in the Citadel DLC, that clearly shows her with similar lines, I think the point is moot. I personally think this is Liara 4 years after the Reaper War, which matches the 2190 date teased in this audio recording. Liara glances at her companions and gives a tiny smile before cutting to a black screen. Woo, we made it! That's it! That's all, folks. Or is it? There is one final phase of the trailer, or as I like to call it, was that Liara? I'm pretty sure that was Liara. Keela, is it actually happening? This section is very brief. The Mass Effect logo pops up, confirming what we all knew when we heard that Reaper roar. Mass Effect will continue. By the goddess, I could repeat that all day long. There is one small detail here, though, that I want to bring to your attention. Right behind the Mass Effect logo is what appears to be the same interstellar cloud shown before Alchera. The coloring kind of matches, the whiter squarish part of it, and the general shape. Interestingly, you can see the cloud moving. I see this as one of 2 things. The second one I'll mention later on. The first idea I had is that it could be viewed as a Reaper. Watching it back in slow-mo, it seems like the bottom part of it could be a claw moving towards the Reaper's face. Even the initial view of this cloud could be seen as a Reaper. Kinda. If you squint with both eyes. Anyway, I'm leaning more towards my second theory that I mentioned later on, but I am curious as to why BioWare snuck this little hint in right at the end, and what it could mean. Alright, time to backtrack and analyze the distorted audio before the Mudskipper descended to Alchera. And in my opinion, the most important part of the trailer, or as I like to call it, I can hear you, can you hear me? An amazing Reddit user, Serpo Stalfos, broke down the distorted audio into 5 distinct sections. The reddish-pink interstellar cloud I touched on earlier is the visual for the jumbled up voices. All of the voices are very hard to pick out, even with the audio cleaned up, so this section is going to be my best attempt at interpreting what each of the voices are saying. First up, voice 1. I'm hearing probe relay. Here's voice 2.
Anomaly readings all across space. Anomaly readings all across space. Anomaly readings all across space.
Voice 2 is the most clear and the most significant in my opinion. I'm hearing anomaly readings all across the space.
Anomaly readings Omicron. Space. Anomaly readings Omicron. Space. Anomaly readings Omicron. Space.
This is massive. I'm going to go over the other 4 voices before going into this one in detail, but I think it's a very big hint for the next game. Voices 3 and 4 are the most difficult to pick out for me.
I'm sorry.
I'm hearing I'm shocked. I think that they're shocked either about the anomalies all across space or by whatever voices 5 and 6 are reacting to. And speaking of, voice 5 is another huge hint. In this one, I think they're saying they do match. Voice 6 is also massive. This one is a bit tricky, but I think they say unknown horizon. Okay, before I dive into my interpretations, just a quick reminder that you will be extremely confused if you didn't watch my last theory video, so please do go check that out first. So, now for interpretation time. Keep in mind this is all pure speculation and is probably entirely wrong, but who the heck knows when the next game is coming out, so let's run with it. Voices 1, 3, and 4 are the trickiest to hear, and I'm fairly certain my guesses for what they're saying are incorrect, so I'm going to ignore those for now. Voices 2, 5, and 6 are the most intriguing, and here's where the multiverse theory comes into play. In my last video, I discussed at length why I believe the next game is going to involve expanding the Mass Effect universe into a multiverse. And I think voices 2, 5, and 6 back up the multiverse theory, with voice 2 being the biggest clue that might make the multiverse theory more credible. Voice 2 mentioned anomalies all across space. I take this to mean that some type of space phenomenon is occurring, maybe holes in space, that are causing alterations with space-time. Voice 5 says they do match. I personally think that this might mean that the Shepard in an alternate universe is a perfect match with the Shepard that died in the current universe. Voice 6 is also very interesting, assuming they say unknown horizon. This could be referring to a black hole event horizon, which is the very edge of a black hole where not even light escapes. Voice 2 mentioned anomalies all across space. While I'm not the most astronomy fluent person, I generally know that black holes have implications of changes with space and time, and/or that they might even lead to other universes? Just saying. Or the unknown horizon is referring to what's beyond the anomaly in space mentioned by Voice 2. And if you remember earlier on, I mentioned the interstellar cloud that was moving at the end of the trailer. My second interpretation for that cloud is that it could also represent one of the anomalies in space. I would love to hear your guys' interpretations for the audio, so please feel free to comment down below and we can continue the discussion there. Alright, if you're still with me, thank you so much for listening to my crazy theories. I know they are absolutely insane. Let's try to make the multiverse theory make sense with what we see after the Mudskipper lands on Alchera. Theoretically, an anomaly in space would allow Liara and crew to take advantage of a distortion in space-time and go to an alternate universe. When the trailer shows Liara walking on a powered-down Reaper, my theory is that the Reapers, in this alternate universe, have already been taken out by the Crucible, by the civilization that existed 50,000 years prior. Liara is in this alternate universe to grab this universe's Shepard that died in 2183. She would know where Shepard died, since she has access to the previous Shadow Broker's information on where Shepard died in her original universe. When Liara picks up the piece of the N7 helmet and smiles, I take this to mean that she's happy because there's hope for Shepard to return and they didn't hop universes for nothing. Just saying all of this confuses even me, so don't worry, I will try to clarify this in future videos. And I fully understand that there is a lot that I'm saying that doesn't make any sense yet. Like if the Reapers were taken out 50,000 years prior in the alternate universe, then the Collectors wouldn't have existed, so the Normandy wouldn't have been taken out by the Collector ship. Trust me, I get it. But I do have a theory to explain why this alternate universe's Shepard was taken out, so stay tuned for that in a future video. So, in summary for the next Mass Effect game, a probe relay is sent through the anomalies all across space. Someone is shocked by the fact that the multiverse exists. There is a match for Shepard in the alternate universe, and Liara and crew enter an unknown horizon in order to bring back a Shepard that died on Alchera back in 2183. Yup, that checks out. Again, take all of this with the biggest grain of salt ever. And please feel free to comment your theories down below. I would love to hear them. All right, that is it for the full Mass Effect trailer breakdown. Now I'll play the trailer in full with my interpretations overlaid on top of it, so sit back and enjoy. And this section of the video is what I like to call, thank you so much for listening to my wild theories. I hope you enjoyed. If you'd like to revisit my multiverse theory and gain some insight on the Mass Effect TV series that they are planning on releasing, check out this video right over here. Until then, I'm Atharia, and this is my favorite franchise on the Citadel.
Logging you out, Shepard.